All right, guys, this is Miguel Sanchez out of Phoenix, Arizona. This is episode number 1. I'm here with Ruby. She is the e-commerce queen out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Grew up in Maryville, just like myself. So this is number 1, guys, and she wanted to do it with some Dos Equis. She said,
Cheers.
I'm not going to do it unless we do Dos Equis. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So let me pop this one. I already did the whole...
We're not sponsored. One day we will be sponsored, right?
Not yet, but we will be.
All right, let's do this. We just want to bring some knowledge and wisdom of what we've been through. I mean, growing in what a lot of people call the hood, Maryville is such a cultural, down-to-earth place, and then getting to where we are now and where we're going to end up going. So I'm excited to learn from you. I'm excited to share as well, and I hope this brings a lot of value to the audience.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruby. So she took the time from her busy schedule to do a vlog, and she's gonna share her knowledge on everything that has taken her to get to where she is right now, which would be building an e-commerce business from 0 to 100 million in sales in e-commerce. And obviously right now we're going through COVID. We're not doing social distancing, sorry. But the thing is more than ever, I think we're in the perfect time to talk about e-commerce.
Yeah, 100%.
Because e-commerce is destroying, well, it's not destroying, it's helping, but all these retailers, because of COVID, are going down. I'm driving around Phoenix, Arizona. We both live here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, and all these businesses are going out of business, but they didn't prepare themselves for e-commerce. And so tell me a little bit about obviously where you grew up and how you got into e-commerce.
Yeah. So I grew up in Maryville. I went to Alhambra High School. I grew up with a single mother and 5 siblings. So I was always working really hard. And what I love that I learned from my mom is the work ethic. So I always knew as long as I work really hard, I can achieve anything, and I saw that through her. But the way out of the hood, my mom always instilled in us that it was education. And so all I knew was education. I got my straight A's, I worked extra hard, I was involved in extracurricular activities, I took the city bus. I mean, every single dollar was very squeezed to the maximum. I mean, we went through so much heartaches, and I always worked, even as a student in high school, and I worked so hard to get out of that and to provide to my mom. And so I knew for myself that education was the way out, so I can repay my mom through every single work. She worked 3 jobs at a time, and so I saw that and I said, I just can't wait for one day to be able to tell my mom, you don't have to work that hard. And so that's what I ended up doing. I went to ASU, I graduated in 3 years. I graduated debt free. For the first time, I had the option not to work. So I worked in high school, and I always resented my family for I just want to be a student. I just want to play basketball and be in all this extracurricular activities, and I couldn't because I had to help my family out. And now I got to ASU and I got all these scholarships, and I felt so grateful. For the first time, I saw my work being rewarded. Nice. And so I got an accounting degree because that was the safest way. That was guaranteed. Taxes aren't going anywhere. And so I gave that privilege to my mom. But at the end of the day, being in corporate, I just have such a huge amount of wanting to give back to my community and be more creative that it wasn't passionate enough for me to continue that. And that's when I stemmed into a creative aspect of marketing. And I said, I want to give back to entrepreneurs because they're so passionate, and I want that back and forth. And I'm creative, and I'm analytical, and I have an accounting degree. And so I went in a marketing agency, and then from there, me and my partner ended up working with a lot of internal e-commerce brands to gain the knowledge of how do we do this the best with the clients that we work with. And so that is when the last company that we built together really took off, and it was up from there. And that is where I learned all about e-commerce and how to figure things out on the go, how to grow, how to pivot, how to adapt, we lost so much money in learning, but then we didn't give up. And that is all the knowledge that I took with me, and now I want to give that knowledge back, of especially during this time. I mean, I'm working with so many retailers, so many established brands offline, but they have no idea how to build a digital presence. And for me to come in and say, this is how you do it, let's do an influencer campaign, let's do a marketing campaign, how are your operations, how are your systems, let's do this online, let's revamp your social media, what does your branding look like? So this is a way, I think COVID is the most blessing in disguise for businesses to pivot, to adapt, to take a look internally and give you an option to say, what am I about? What's my business about? How can I rebrand myself? How can I go deeper? And how can I really showcase my message to my customers?
Correct. Awesome. Would you say, obviously e-commerce, where did you guys get the funding? I mean, was it self-funded? Obviously you worked a lot. How'd you get the funding? Because I know we talked on the phone before I came here, and I told you, I was like, nobody ever talks about one aspect of any business, which is probably the most core principle of any business. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's e-commerce, restaurants. I come from the taco shops, now doing real estate, but nobody ever talks about one missing link, which is marketing budget. Nobody ever talks about that. You think about the big dream, and I'm gonna build this big business, but how are you gonna get people in that door, or what we call now funnels? How are you gonna funnel people into that business? So she obviously worked a lot during high school. So how did you guys fund that first business? Where did that marketing capital come from?
So the great thing about being in an agency, and a lot of entrepreneurs do start in a marketing agency, that because you're just exchanging your time for money, and so that is the highest margin at the beginning, even though your time is your most valuable asset. But you're not really, when you're building an e-commerce brand, right away money goes out the door because of the inventory and the cash flow that you really have to fund. And there's so much right out the door money. It sucks your money out. So building an agency, a marketing agency, we were able to say we're getting money from our time and our expertise. So I always encourage people to save up money based on like just sharing and getting paid for what you know. And maybe you're a photographer, and like all you have to do is just take pictures, and your cost is a camera. So like, what can you gain money right away for your time and your expertise and what you know, so you're able to save that money to put into, if it is going to be an e-commerce brand, because it does take a lot of money, but it's not impossible, and you can be very, very lean. There's so much resources out there that are free, and the internet, again, if you can spend more time in learning things that you can do yourself at the beginning and then go off and hire, that is the best thing to do. So learn as much as you can from the free internet, and then slowly you start to understand. And then as an entrepreneur, you zoom out and say, what is my time best spent at that can really forward me to the next level? And so building this company with my partner, we were super lean, never took outside investment. And now you can build an e-commerce brand for less than like $1,000, just because being super lean, you learn everything. It does take a lot of money for inventory. I think that's the biggest issue. But when you outsource it, you're able to, and I learned this a lot, like I did the outsourcing, I work with supplier, so it's all economies of scale, where you're like, I'm gonna get this much unit for less money because the unit is less cost. And it's a right away thing where you make that transaction and you buy it for one price and you sell it for another, and that's your margin. And so numbers is very, very important at the beginning, because you can just go off and spend so much money on not knowing what to do, especially marketing. It's a black hole. So I always tell entrepreneurs to be very careful. And it's always about what is the next best affordable step. And again, I learned from my mother that the dollar goes a long way, and we knew how to optimize and what is our ROI for this dollar. And so building businesses, I took that same mentality from growing up. Money is best spent at.
Awesome. So would you say somebody can start a store right now, we're in 2020 during COVID, for $1,000, or would that include your marketing and your product, or would that just include product plus whatever else for marketing.
You know the amazing thing about marketing that you can start with now social media. If you don't have money for a website, Instagram is your website. I mean, people are coming in. Your marketing is your hashtag, so people can see it. So you're spreading awareness through hashtags. Your link on your bio now could be towards something else, right? And you don't even have to have a store. Now, the best thing about online is that if you go right now and you see a building, you're gonna spend rent right away for thousands of dollars. You know how much my store online costs is less than $30 Shopify per month. And guess how many, what's the capacity of it? Thousands, millions of people a month.
The world.
Yeah.
You have the
There's
world.
no capacity. And that's why I love online, because in a retail it costs thousands and there's a certain capacity. Online it's just $30 is my storefront, which is Shopify, and I can invite so many people into my store, millions.
Yes, she definitely brings an interesting point. Obviously, I come from the retail industry with taco shops, and the biggest challenge in taco shops, it's either you get into a lease where it's going to be, I'm not going to say for sale by owner, but like lease by owner, where there's no management company, and they might or might not check your credit. My
audience about taking a risk on yourself. I love that phrase, how you said that.
I was definitely really scared, but at the time I was listening to I think it's Ryan Blair out of California. He had a couple businesses, but an MLM, and he wrote a book, Nothing to Lose. And I was like, okay, so I have a car that's paid off, I pay like $450 in rent, what do I have to lose?
I love
I was like,
that.
what, somebody's gonna put a lien on me? They can't collect.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I don't own anything. You can't collect on me. So I definitely signed a lease, and I drove Uber. I've had a couple articles actually wrote about me with Uber, because I was like, I know I'm gonna pay the rent, I'm gonna drive Uber.
I love that.
So that's how I started. But going back to your whole online store, is you're gonna, the first and last month's rent, security deposit, then the rent, plus insurance. Then you're gonna need some sort of like, I mean, you're probably gonna get an employee, so you got workman's comp.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to connect your light, you have to connect your water, you have to connect gas if it's a restaurant, internet, phone lines, like it is.
The upfront investment on that is scarier, right?
We're talking about just going into a normal building. We're talking about 15 grand the first month. Obviously, I have all this written down, but I'm just thinking 15 grand out of my head. That's the first month. That means no customer came in. That means you haven't sold one
So
thing.
you're negative already.
You're already negative. 15 grand down the drain.
I could make so much out of 15 grand on an online store.
Really?
Like that's a full on like business. Yeah. I love it. Like that's a great investment.
We're not even including a sign. So you want a sign, a normal sign, it costs you, this is not a fancy sign. This is like, hey, hook it up kind of sign.
Yeah.
We're talking about 5 grand. That is 5,000 plus. You need to go through zoning for the sign. You just can't put signs all over the place. So now you have zoning. Then you have to submit your permit for the zoning to whatever city you're involved with. I mean, it is so, the process is just immense. And like you said,
and there's no data. So the biggest thing about online is getting customer data. So every time somebody comes into my store, I understand where they came from, who are they, so I get better. It's almost like my own AI, so artificial intelligence. I get to learn and optimize on marketing based on who came to my store, because now I understand, oh, these types of people are very interested in my product. Let me learn from them. Let me get that customer data and optimize my dollars on how I invest. Let's just say Facebook ads, you get a lookalike audience, what they call it, or now you understand how to communicate and message and talk to these people that are visiting you in your store. And so it's almost like if somebody was to come into a retail, it's like, hey, what's your name? Or like, what's your income like? Where do you live? And imagine that would be very intimidating. You don't need to do that online. You get all the information thanks to Facebook or any other platform that you're so easily like giving your information out.
I can't imagine that in
Imagine?
retail. It's like, oh, thanks for buying, I don't know, this
Yeah.
t-shirt, these tacos or whatever. It's like, oh, by the way, how much do you make?
Yeah, what's your zip code? Are you married? Like this is all the information you get from somebody online.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I guess the closest thing to restaurants for information would be our POS, which is our point of sale. But that's if they put in their information, which we
Yeah.
normally just get email and phone number. And yeah, email and phone number, that's as much as you get. You don't, and maybe zip code. I guess that would be more
Yeah.
broad in whatever POS system you have. But wow, you pretty much get all of their life
Yeah.
with an online transaction that you
Yeah.
don't get in a retail environment.
And
Wow.
think about what you can do with that data. So I always say data is powerful.
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So let's talk about just coming from where we come from and having the success and reinventing ourselves and repositioning. Like, what would you say gives you that motivation to continue to start over in a new industry? Now you're in real estate, like, and then how I came from the marketing perspective, from accounting, and again having to go into different industries and what is that formula for success and starting all over?
I think the biggest formula for me, like you said, now with real estate, is I learned marketing kind of by default. I'm not the best marketer, but I do understand it. In these last 3 years, I was forced to learn marketing because of retail. Like, I need to get people in the stores.
Yeah.
So I guess transitioning from retail to real estate, your social presence is really big, because obviously now with real estate, and from retail to real estate, everybody knows me from the taco retail industry. But thanks to all these people that had followed me, I'm able to switch my career and have all these eyeballs on me, and I already have that captive audience, you know.
Yeah.
But coming from where we come from, I think our upbringing is go to school,
Yeah.
get a job, and buy a house. You
Stay
know,
safe, right?
Stay safe. Everything's safety, and obviously I came from a single mom too. So now it makes sense why she wanted me to go to school. I didn't
Yeah.
understand it. I barely
Yeah.
understood it
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
Because she had all these bills,
Yeah.
and she needed safety. She couldn't be an entrepreneur
No. They
because
couldn't afford that. That's all they knew, right?
it was a big risk. Like, you can't risk it, and entrepreneurship is a risk. I mean, I've slept on couches. I've slept, almost in my car before. I've even had a plan one time. I was like, I'm gonna sleep in my car. And I'm gonna sleep in the gym and shower in the gym, sleep in my car, whatever it took, you know, little by little, and build. But coming where we come from, it could be like, what is it, like it could be good and it could be bad.
Yeah.
It's like some people start with like a 80-yard head start, and we're starting like at 5 yards. And we have to work 7 days a week and get all these connections and get everything.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you earlier, just with these platforms, her knowledge of, 10 plus years, my knowledge of 10 plus years, and everybody else that will be on the show, is you get to get on YouTube, look up Ruby e-commerce, or look up Miguel, and this time lapse of hundreds and thousands of dollars it has cost us, and sweat, tears, and stress, and everything. You get to learn it from the comfort of your couch,
Right away
without
for free.
spending $1. We already spent the money for you.
Yeah. That's what I think failure is for me, is just acquiring data, so I'm able to have that wisdom to make a better decision next. And I think using this platform for both of us, I think we want to be an example of what it took, especially coming from our area. I want somebody in our area to see us and be like, that's possible. I'm able to see it, because it's really hard to connect when you keep climbing the ladder of success, and you don't see anybody like you, whether it's for me like female, young, or Hispanic, or a new industry. Like, it's so different not to, it feels lonely. And so like for us to take the chance and teaching the next generation and our kids and our cousins and our future kids, like, that is so important.
And I think there's people like you and myself, which we do want to give back. Obviously, coming from Maryville, I mean, I still go around Maryville all the time. I live by Maryville. I've lived in Sky. I've lived all over the town. So never being I'm too good for any area, especially with entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is like, one day you're here, the next day, I mean, look what COVID did to all these businesses. People thought they had it figured out, and it went boom. Yeah. It's like, and how about all these people that you belittle because you're too good for them? You're driving your BMW or your Range Rover because you made it, quote unquote. It's like, don't ever forget where you come from. Don't ever forget, like, everybody that's around you, you know? Yeah. Because life can just...
100%. It will humble you. The moment that you feel that you're up here, that you have it all, life has a way to humble you so you don't forget where you came from. So you don't forget that struggle, and you don't forget the people. So I always say, on your way to the top, always be grateful and appreciative of whoever's with you, whoever supports you, whether it's verbally or financially, or just our moms just being there, is like, you got it, mijo, whatever it is, I'm scared for you, but go for it. But also remembering the people that didn't have your back. So always remember the people that supported you, and always remember the people that didn't believe in you, because as you go up and you go back down, they will be there for you again. And I got to experience that, and I had people that are like cheering me on. They saw my success. I always love to share my experience, especially through financial success. Financial success for me gives me opportunities for me to share that with everybody else, and experiences. And I always love to share that, whether it's people from my old hood, or from high school or college, whatever it's at. I feel like if I win, we all win, and we're all doing this together. And so when you fall down and you say you were really entitled and mean when you were on your way up, people are going to remember that. Oh, yes. People are not going to be there to support you, and you forget that. And I think those are the humble beginnings, and what keeps you humble, because money can definitely change you and expand more of who you are.
And I think going into the money topic is not that it wants to change you, or it's not that you want to change, but your sphere of influence, there's people that are already on top, and that sphere of influence starts to change.
Yeah.
And it's not because you want to, it's just I guess there's ladders to this. And like you said, don't forget of everybody else, and if they want to join, you're more than welcome to join, but you are going to meet new people along the way. And I mean, most of the people that I hang out with they're like my customers. They were all my customers at one point, a client somehow, some way. And I don't know, you can definitely, I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, we're going somewhere.
So I received a message, and somebody from Facebook, they were like, how do you do what you do? And I was like, you have to live debt free. Why? Because that's how you're able to take risk. But if you're trying to succeed, whatever it is you're trying to do, and you have all these debts, like, it puts caps on you. But it's because you're buying things that people don't really care for. Like,
I think you can leverage that if you know that you can make more from it. So borrow it, multiply it, and then get yourself to a good level where you can now start producing a profitability. But I think our culture also is scared of debt, which my mom was super scared if taking student loans out, which I never did. I'm super grateful. But if you can leverage it, if you know you can get an ROI, and if you know that it can get you to a new position of a playing field, go for it. But don't just start taking debt if you don't need to. It's a balancing act with that.
Would you say a new car is good debt?
A new car is that I always say live below your means. I am super frugal, and if a car can get me from A to B, that's all I care about. And it's also why you're doing it, right? Is it like, what kind of car is it? Is it for external validation? Like for me, I love to just use my money where I know it's going to give me a better ROI.
What was your first car?
My first car always had Toyota Camrys, super old, that we all shared, went to school. My first transportation was taking the city bus all my life, pretty much, up until college, where it's just like the city bus. And that taught me that to be frugal. And I think I gained so much knowledge from taking the city bus, being observant, understanding different personalities. And so now I was able to see their people's demeanors, how people talk, how people interacted at 12 years old.
Wow.
And being really in my head and really observant. So I got to talk to myself in my head a lot. And so that came from being analytical.
Nice. So you definitely learned a lot from that, and you keep doing what you're doing. Like you say, stay frugal.
So one of the biggest questions for us too, where we come from and the success that we build, how do we keep that generational wealth for multiple generations? Because I'm first generation. I was born in Mexico and I came here, and I love America for the opportunity that gives us, where we can be first generation and achieve the same success as somebody else next to you that has been doing it for 5-6 generations. We have that opportunity. And so how do we keep that ongoing?
The way you keep generational wealth is learning how money works. That's rule number one. And it took me a lot of years to realize it, because when I would say on top of the world, quote unquote, I was like, oh, here, I'll buy you a car. Oh, here, I'll do this, or I'll do this. And I was taking care of everybody else but me. Never in 10 years have I ever taken care of myself. Barely recently, I had a mind shift, and I was like, I need to take care of myself. I've never done that. I've always been give. And as an entrepreneur, when you're really busy, it's like nobody ever says, hey, Ruby, are you okay? How are you feeling? Like, do you need anything? Nobody ever tells you that. They say, Ruby, can you help me with this?
Always,
can you do this?
Always take.
So the way you keep generational wealth is, my philosophy is, you either buy real estate to keep up with inflation because money prices come up, or you start a business right now I would say e-commerce, because you can increase your prices, or you get a career, but that's not guaranteed that the income is gonna go with the flow, because from what I'm hearing, it's like a lot of people are coming in with these careers or college debt, and then they're paying X amount, but inflation has already is bypassing it, so that's not changing. That's not gonna keep up with inflation. So I think it's real estate or starting some sort of business 100%. Or service. It can be any kind of service, because you can always change your prices to keep up with inflation.
And there's no cap. I think whether you're in a full-time job, you should always expand to have a side hustle for the fulfillment of giving. I think as humans, we get fulfillment from giving and serving, and that's what keeps us alive. But also, there's no cap. When you have a salary, no matter how much you work or not, like it's gonna be a fixed salary. So like education is, you can have it forever. You can learn so much. So I always encourage side hustles. I know entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but I do believe that everybody's an entrepreneur, because you can be an intrapreneur in your career, whether it's a 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need those people, and not having the pressure to go out and do something, but to serve. And so like if you see it that way, where it's like, I want to go out there and serve because I have so much skill set, and it's a selfless job for you to keep those gifts that the world gave you. Like the more you can give out, you will get compensated financially just from that transaction of value. And so if you can start doing that, even though it's scary, if you have your guarantee of your job, do that side hustle to change your mindset and say, I'm giving my gifts to people that need it, and serving, whether it's a product or service or real estate. And I 100% believe that generational wealth is continuation of education, financial literacy, and real estate. Like especially in Arizona, this is a gold mine for real estate. And like if you can have the passive income for, like, if you were to die tomorrow and you have these assets that your kid, I want to leave.
So what do you think holds people back in regards to failure, fear of failure, And why do you think people like yourself growing up in Maryville can reach a certain level of success when the same people you grew up with have not?
Yeah. I think it is such a simple but yet the most challenging thing of whether you came from nothing and you reach a level of success, and we all have the same opportunities being on this soil. And it's, I think fear and the fear of failure holds a lot of people back, but I think the mindset and the mindset shift, and to be able to tell yourself, this is temporary, this is not me, like I am on this earth to do bigger things. And if you really want it, I think it's 100% the mindset. If you really do want it, if you want to go for it, how hungry are you to reach that level of success? And what does that mean for you? Is it just financial? Is it monetary? Is it, what's your why? So it's like how strong is your why to keep you motivated to reach that level? Because there's going to be so many challenges, especially when you're starting really low, from nothing, from no resources. I don't have any backup plan. I can't go to my mom and say, hey mom, can I have a $5,000 loan? Like, no, you're on your own. And so knowing that is like, how strong is your why to keep you going through those challenges that's going to give you every single option to give up. And so like, you're going to have a million times to give up. And so how do you keep doing that?
I think the other thing too is validation, like you said, is what if you were going to think about me? Like, oh, I when I showed up to Scottsdale, when I had my first taco stand, I had a $500 car, and I ran out of gas on Scottsdale Road. Sunday Fun Day in front of, I think, what was it, like Local Patron.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm new to Scottsdale, new from Maryville. I didn't really know Scottsdale. And I show up, Local Patron, Sunday Fun Day, and then my car's like, that was
that
so
builds character,
embarrassing.
Right? It builds character.
I was like, do I get off and pose? Do I stay just here?
Wow.
And I guess it goes back to validation, but I had a bigger goal. I was like, my mindset was always like, okay, that's okay. It is embarrassing, but they're partying. I am about to build something that is going to be, they're going to be my clients. And they're partying over here, but this guy just ran out of gas.
They're going to pay you.
They're going to pay me. So I think the biggest thing is always have that picture of whatever it is that you want.
The vision.
The vision, it's like you're going to have all these things come at you, you know, left hook, right punch, uppercut.
Yep.
But if you don't have that vision of what it is you really, really want, you will give up.
Yeah.
You will give up because you don't have a why, like you said.
Yeah, I agree with the vision and really believing in that vision, but mostly believing in yourself, because everybody can not believe in you. Everybody could laugh at you or not support you. And if you can have that really strong belief in yourself, even though you're in a situation that looks like it's never going to end, because I've been ups and downs, and I've lived in Paradise Valley, and I slept in couches, and it's just me. The only person holding me back is just me. And again, I have no safety net, but I believe in myself. I believe in my work ethic. I believe in my knowledge. And even though my bank account doesn't say $1 million, my mindset is $1 million. And that is way more valuable, because the old me, and I met a lot of even millionaires that inside they're empty.
They're empty.
And that's not going to keep them for that next generation. And that people won't survive. If people that are really high won't survive the lows if they don't have their self-awareness or their self-belief.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Mental health, nobody really talks about it in real estate as well. I mean, in real estate and entrepreneurship. And in real estate.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Nobody really talks about mental health. They don't really think about that with business owners. But like you said, if you don't have that self-awareness, you're definitely gonna, suicide rates are huge. Because you should never have, my life is worth $1 million. It's like, no, your life is worth everything else. It's not, you should never have a price on yourself. Even though I'm guilty of it myself, when I've had lows, I'm like, I don't feel good.
Yeah, of course.
Especially, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's an ego thing. It's like being a guy, it's like, dude, like, I'm a little broke right now. It's like, it just doesn't feel good. It's just like, that's not who I am.
Exactly.
I don't have a price.
Exactly.
Because my price, and now with doing this vlog, it's like, this is my value now. It's like, it's not only a monetarily value, And like you said, we grow when we give.
Yes.
Because we're built that way to always give, and when we give, we grow. And when you do have those downs, and you have been giving, or you give, I think it compensates. I guess it all intertwines. I don't know.
Yeah. No, 100%. And again, like back on mental health, right? Especially during these times, is like, how can you build those tools to keep your mind so strong, your emotional state being, when things like this that you never prepared for happen? And you can plan your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, but life is always going to throw curveballs at you. So it's like, how do you deal from that? And I have gained the necessary tools to allow me to bounce back faster. And so there's many challenges that we will face as entrepreneurs. It's the most uncertain thing we're getting into. And so how do you gain those mental tools to make sure that you don't stay at the bottom for that long and you bounce right back? Because the most important person that you're investing is yourself and your mental health and your internal and emotional, and like the faster you gain those tools, the faster you can give who you are to people, but always putting yourself first.
I think the biggest thing, I would say the biggest takeaway even for me, for entrepreneurship, is the money's gonna come. Just work, and it's gonna come, whatever it is you're doing. But happiness, always be happy, whatever it is. I mean, if you're sleeping on a couch, wake up happy. If you're, whatever your circumstance is always have that internal happiness, and you're not going to dictate your happiness based on money, because it does not give you happiness. But that's a whole different topic. It's like when some people say, like, I'd rather be unhappy in a Ferrari or whatever. Yeah. It's like, yes, definitely money does solve a lot of issues or problems, but it will never solve your happiness. It doesn't solve happiness, because I remember being in Scottsdale, and I felt lonely before. 100%. And I would call my buddies out in Maryville. I'd be like, hey guys, what are you guys doing? Like, I need to get out of Scottsdale. Like, seriously, I would go back to Maryville, and I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, I need to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. Obviously my business was there, but it's like, I don't want to be here. Like, and we go back to the whole thing of, like, the people that are actually there for you. My friends make me laugh. Like, I love laughing. Like, I love to laugh. I love comedy. I love laughing. And for me, always know what your, like your getaways. Like, for me, if I can find a group of people that will make me laugh, like, I will be happy. Like, I love to laugh. I just think it's funny. And I grew up with my friends, like, I just love to laugh. I love laughing. And
going back to happiness, it's not a location, it's not where you're at. Whether you're in Scottsdale, Maryville, or Tulum, or like on the couch, or happiness is not a location state. It's here. It's like where you're at internally, and like even knowing that you're in a hard situation, knowing that this is temporary, knowing that you just have to get through it, and like how are you gonna get through it, and like gratitude for me has been the biggest thing in my transitioning from having it all and like rebuilding myself. And it's like, let's just be happy for the moment right now. And not, because you get anxiety from not accepting where you're at and where you want to be, and so that gap gives you anxiety. And as a human, you're like, I have so much potential, I was here, or like I want to be here. And so what keeps you grounded is being grateful for where you're at, and being grateful for what you want to become and what you're working for, and like being patient with yourself, knowing that every single action and decision that you do every day is going to accumulate and compound to where you want to become.
Yep, I had somebody reach out to me as well on Instagram, and she's all like, she knows me from Scottsdale from when I started with a Walmart griddle, literally $20. $20, you guys can start your own taco shop. And she was like, wow, Miguel, this was a couple weeks ago. She's like, Miguel, she goes, I'm really proud of yourself. I'm really proud of you. And I was like, well, thank you. She goes, I know how you started. And I always get those original customers that know where I started, literally from a $20 grill from from Walmart. And she goes, you've been branding yourself for like 10 years. I was like, wow, I didn't think about that. So this is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight.
No.
And I mean, how many years has it taken you to just get to a point where like, whoa, we made 100 million in sales? Like, I mean, how many years? Was it like in a year?
Overnight. There were so many different failed adventures and in businesses where people see the overnight success as like, oh, you got lucky, right timing. Yes, there's a lot of factors in the right timing and the right product and people really validating that through a transaction, but in reality is the accumulation of knowledge throughout all these years. So it was like a 10 plus years in the making.
Wow.
It was 10 years in the making for one to look like, and this happens with artists all the time where they get a hit song and they're like, oh, they just came up with the hit song, but in reality they've been working nonstop every single day for that to work. And just like this content creators, like Gary Vee always says, like, I've been creating content for years and years, and consistency is the key. And again, believing and sticking to that journey of like believing that it's gonna happen. But Gary Vee didn't just post a video and went viral and it just happened. Like, he's been creating content consistently for years and people don't see that.
That's awesome. Well, I guess we can finish it off with what do you think about the whole, we talked about this, invest $1,000 and get rich next week. What do you want to tell the audience? Because I think a lot of people are being screwed over, and I'm just being really blunt with it because it really upsets me, because you get somebody from Maryville, and it actually happened to one of my friends actually. You get somebody from Maryville that invests in a course, they spend X amount, and obviously he shouldn't have invested because that means he wanted the easy way out.
Yeah.
But I have to give it to these guys. They're great marketers. That I have to give it to them.
Yeah.
Like, you are great at marketing.
Yeah.
So I respect that part of that of the business. But what do you want to say to people that, because we're going into 2021, COVID, this business e-commerce, it was here, it's about to like go up like that, because everybody and everyone and their grandma are going to have an e-commerce store here within the next 5 years. So what do you want to tell people selling courses with that you're going to get rich in a day?
It's such a sticky, and because I built a business and I understand, and I want to build courses, but now I have to compete with this diluted market of everybody just saying that they've done it. And for me, it's do your research, and there's free information everywhere. Go on YouTube, get enough information to understand and ask the right questions when you're about to put that investment. And the best investment is yourself, yes, but not being naive where it's like, I'm gonna invest $5,000 and I should get double that. Like, do your work. You're always going to be your best investment. So educate yourself enough and make sure that that person that you're giving your hard work money, that they've done it before, because there's so many people that just read books and they share the same information. But I think you will get the most knowledge, and I love coaching, and I think that's having mentorships. I am all for it, but making sure that you validate that person that you're giving your hard work money. So like, have they done it before? What's their track record? Do they have case studies? Can I validate them? So it's like, if someone has done it and they want to be a teacher and a guide for you, 100%. But there's so many people out there that just want to get money, and like they just put a course together through the information that's already out there for free. And so definitely do your homework. There's so many out there that you can get scammed, and it's really sad and it really annoys me and pisses me off, because there's people that truly want to learn and they're trusting these people as guides or teachers, and they get nothing in return.
No, and the thing is, it can be their last $4,000. It can be their last $3,000, and that's where it's really bad. But I also think that we're going into 2021 Wow, that's crazy to say, but I think it's becoming more of like the last 5 years. It was a lot of like fake entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because it was the era of, I would say, like e-commerce and a
Yeah.
lot of these
Self-made,
Self-made.
e-commerce,
And
0
that doesn't
to
exist.
100 million in 3 months. Like the drop shipping era came about, but I really believe that this year is a theme of everything surfacing.
raw.
Everything becoming real and raw and surfacing to really seeing who's real and who's gonna fall off. And we see that in politics and everybody else, where it's like the real will survive this dilemma and these challenges, and what people need to see will surface. And so like if you're going out there and really scamming people and coming from a very bad intentions, like it's gonna come out and you're gonna lose at the end. And it's a long-term effect. So like do good, lead with your heart, have good intentions, help people, share your gifts, and be a good person.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ruby. I think we'll finish it off with that. So where can people find you? I mean, you are the e-commerce queen. We're here in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Phoenix, Arizona. We service the whole area. It's like a city, big town. So
Yes,
we go everywhere.
And we all know each other, right? Like
We
we
know
met
each
on
other.
Instagram. So the best way to reach me will be on Instagram at Ruby Ecom. And I love talking to people. I share so much knowledge both on the business level and the personal level. And I just love being authentic and vulnerable and really sharing my experience with everybody.
Awesome, guys. You guys heard it from Ruby, the e-commerce queen. 0 to 100 million, and not overnight, but it's doable. And you say everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it, no matter where you came from. Clearly, we're an example of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ruby, and Miguel Sanchez out of Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.